Alrighty. Um, do I usually say that? I don't know. I don't know if I usually say alrighty or okay. I can't remember. Uh, this is gonna be a tough one to get through. This is gonna be a tough one to get through because I've got a few things I need to talk about. Obviously, first we'll do the bingo, then we'll go through the points and stuff. But yeah, it's just one of those. I said I'll kind of get into it more as I actually speak about the game. It's just one of those ones where it's like, as you said, coming to just St James's Park, there's basically no point even bothering turning up. Like, there's just no point. It's exhausting to the point of just like, you know, I've got to that stage of like, cool, whatever. We've got 2 games. Win both games, we get qualification. We've got multiple games going on at the moment, I believe. Let me quickly check. Yeah, we've got some of the games on now, I think. Yeah, so we really want to hope that that Leicester somehow pull off a miracle here and beat Nottingham Forest or hold them to a draw or something. It gives us a little bit more insurance, but as we've kind of been saying for the past few, hang on, let's move that back over, there we go. Because we've been saying for the past few games, it's in our hands, we just need to win our last 2 games. And the thing is, the reason why the result to me is not too important and not too, like, dampening, not only, again, is it a game at St James's Park, which is always really hard to win, but the fact that we were basically expecting to get 3 points out of 2 games from this or the Liverpool game. We were expecting to get, when we kind of saw this run in, we were expecting to get 3 out of 6 points. So we were expecting to lose to one of the teams. Obviously, most of us have thought that would be Liverpool, but instead it's turned out to be Newcastle. Let me, have Leicester just scored? I literally checked it too. Oh my god, they have. Who is it? Is it Vardy? Who scored? The Premier League app is fucking wank, by the way. Like, it's so delayed. Like, I'm refreshing the thing over and over again, and it's not telling me that there's a goal. Utterly useless. Anyway, let me pop out the chat and pause the game and stuff like that. Cool. Connor Cody. Ah. Unlikely goal scorer. Check that off the bingo card. But no, there we go. Use live score. Yeah, I mean, I usually use other things. Usually the reason why I use the actual Premier League app is because it's quick to come up with just like, oh, here are all of the Premier League games on today. That's usually why I use it, because it's just quicker to see. But yeah, it's just utterly woeful. But yeah, Connor Cody, lovely. So, as usual, yeah, I usually use SofaScore. Oh god, should we get some insider knowledge here? You know, back in the day when I was like, hey, I was trying to get like sponsorships and stuff, SofaScore might have been one of those companies that I applied to. Let's just say that. Yeah, I use SofaScore quite a lot. As you've probably seen it from my videos, well, a lot of the time, because the thing which I love about SofaScore, not sponsored by the way, the thing I love about SofaScore is the fact that they have the balance of the game graphic. I really love that. That's like such a good thing. Is there a new intro for the rebrand? I'm glad you asked. Look at you being so getting to segue me into the new thing, because lads, lasses, and the rest of the masses, welcome to the grayscale. We did it. Great segue. Welcome in. Now, this isn't changing particularly from how it was when it was called Feeling Blue. And by that I mean it's not changing at all, other than kind of the design. But I think it's cool. Also, Crimson, I know that you'll get this. I know you'll get this reference. But I wonder if you can tell that the iconography for the grayscale is very much kind of Judgment Day based, like original Judgment Day based. I know you're a person that will get that. But yes, welcome to the grayscale, as it is now called. First of all, we will do the bingo. because yeah, bingo is fun. We can get some fun out of the way before I start moaning about this game being poor. So George app, we do not get a George app, which is unfortunate. I thought genuinely when Jackson got sent off, I thought that we would see George come on in the striker role. Didn't happen. So a bit weird there. I feel like he would have probably come on. And almost as if I have done the worst mono jinx of my life, which happens all the time, Jackson did not get player of the match. I think he was utterly the worst player that was on the pitch, which is saying something considering he was only on it for 35 minutes. Yeah, utterly. Man, we made it to the other side, yeah. But no, so we don't get a clean sheet, obviously. Good crowd. You know what? I'm going to give this good crowd. I was doing this just because, St. James's Park is always a good crowd. I'm actually giving it to the away fans. The away fans were really loud today. So good on Chelsea's away support. Guiu on the bench. This did not happen, unfortunately, and I really hope that he does recover enough to get on the bench at least for the Conference League final or what have you, or whenever basically our next game is, because he needs to start coming. Obviously now losing Jackson for these 2 games, imperative that we get someone who can play striker on. I would imagine it's going to be Tyreek George taking up that mantle. I don't think Enzo trusts Shim enough. I think he does trust Ty to play there. If not, we'll probably play Palmer as a false 9. Didn't really like Palmer as a false 9 today. I felt like he needs to play more like an actual 9 when he plays in that false 9 position, because he kind of dropped too deep and then just we don't have anyone to play the ball to. There's multiple times in this game where in the second half where Caicedo is streaming up the pitch waiting to play a ball in behind, and Palmer is kind of just standing there waiting for him to run past him. Kind of annoying, but yeah, there we go. So no Guiu on the bench. Hopefully we can get get Ty or someone back for those games. Early goal, absolutely. It wasn't for us though, which is unfortunate. Reece James's Park. I see. This was specifically for if James actually played. He did play. He come off the bench, and I do think that James was pretty decent when he came on. Defensively, very good. He swung in a few decent balls into the box as well. He had an absolute golden chance, a sitter from Malo Gusto to put away and get us an equaliser. Unfortunately, did not take it. Over 2 goals scored. Yep. There's no. There wasn't actually. Only 2, not over 2. Can't show up for the rest of the stream, so see you later. Have a good one. I know that these streams are often at a really bad time for you because you're in a different country, but yeah, and enjoy the rest of your day. Game of 2 halves. Absolutely. Completely game of 2 halves. Crazy. Unlikely goal scorer. Would you count Tonali as an unlikely goal scorer? I don't think he scores many goals. I'm going to take it. I mean, he's technically a defensive midfielder, I would suggest. So, I think that's more unlikely. Player book for Descent, we got a few of these. Colwill definitely got one. I think Enzo definitely got one. There's so many in this, and rightfully so. You know, if I was on that, I said this at half time. I said if I was on that pitch, I would genuinely have boycotted the second half. I would not have come out considering the refereeing that went on in that game. Clean tackle punished multiple times. Maresca ball in full flow. We didn't really get to see much Maresca ball because, again, we just kind of never really got into our flow in the game, and obviously the early goal didn't help that. And then in the second half, when we're down to 10 men, you can't really put the system to use. Ref/VAR mistake. Yeah, I'm ticking this off, and as I said, I'll talk about this in a bit. Defensive howler. Am I gonna class Lavia's mistake as a howler? I'm definitely going to be marking points off him for it, but I don't know if it's a howler. I mean, I'll be kind. I won't tip it off. Worldy, no. Lavia goated, no. Correct prediction. I didn't make a prediction. I did not make a prediction. I just realised this. I was going to say 2-1. That was going to be my prediction, but obviously we lost anyway, so that wouldn't have been correct. Set piece goal, no set piece goals. Mono on vacation. Am I still here? I'm good. Palmer back-to-back, no. Weird sub. I mean, technically, there were some odd substitutions in the fact that James came on and Gusto came on, and then Gusto went to right back, and James kind of went into, like, I don't even know where James was playing at the end of the game. It was almost like he was playing as a striker, so I'm going to take that off. Sanchez bozo moment. I'm not going to say he had a particular moment where he was a bozo. I just feel like the entire game was a bit bozo-y from him. And I'll talk about him in a little bit. Third place, of course, that's just for the win, and we do not get that. So no bingos today, unfortunately. And we didn't even get anything from this line, which is very, very unfortunate. Just check the camera again, just in case we could take that off. No. Cool. Let's put this to the forefront. Now, am I in the right place? I'm not. I've got to move. Oh, what have I? Oh, God, I've moved the wrong thing. Oops. Oh, my goodness. Come on, man. I'm trying to move this. Can I move this? Thank you. There we go. So, as well, I should say, so we've got the grey grate now instead of the true blue. On this right-hand side where it says that should be where alerts start. You can probably tell, I've swapped around the colours. Someone suggested this to me. I forget who it was who suggested this to me. I swapped the colours around, so now the chat should be more visible on this side. Hopefully that makes things a bit more viewable. As we normally do, I'm going to go through my 7 points. Just 7 things which I think were worth pointing out for this game. Now, I actually have things in all 3 boxes. The first thing I'm going to talk about is a positive one. I think I'm going to talk about a few positives first, then kind of get into the nitty-gritty of the bad stuff. The first positive I want to give to is for the centre-back partnership of Levi Colwill and Trevor Chalobah. I think these two are actually really, really good. Despite the 2-0 scoreline, I don't think either of the goals were particularly their fault. I think they defended really, really well for the majority of the time, especially Chalobah. I think he was making some really, really good last-ditch tackles and last-ditch blocks and things like that. Colwill getting a bit of involved in some shenanigans at the end of the game's a bit, but, you know, yeah, we've got... these two, I felt like these two are really, really solid. And I think that, again, both goals that we concede aren't either of these guys' fault. And I think for the most part, even when we're down to 10 men, they defended really, really well. Also, Colwill trying to kind of play those balls into the middle, I think, is a good thing for him. Chalobah, a little bit less accurate with his passing today, but I'm not going to discredit him too much for that. The second player that I'm going to be putting in here is Enzo Fernandez. I think that he had, out of all of our midfielders, other than Caicedo, who I'll talk about. Can you stop lagging? Holy shit. There we go. Other than Caicedo, who I'll talk about in a little bit here. Oh, no. Oh, yes. Forest have equalised. Morgan Gibbs White, apparently. That's kind of annoying. Yeah, at least they're dropping points. But yeah, Enzo, apart from Caicedo, was by far the best kind of midfielder we had on the pitch today. He was getting into positions where he could actually infect things, and he was being thrown around all game and kind of not really being protected by the referee. So unfortunate for him, I felt like there were so many opportunities where he could have been squared the ball and been given the opportunity to shoot from either Pedro Neto or Palmer on the right side, or even Caicedo when he got up there, and he never really got the ball in that scenario. But every time he was on the pitch, he was pretty good. He completed, I believe, 93% of his passes today. He won a large majority of his ground duels as well. Good performance from Fernandez. And this was kind of my 7th point. I already had 6 points, and I kind of needed an extra point, so I've put in Fernandez. This was really hard for me to choose between Fernandez, Neto, and Cucurella. Those are the other 3 that I was kind of thinking about to kind of put in here. But that's some good things. Let's talk about some not good things. In fact, I'll actually transition towards the bads by doing the first medium point. I'm giving the medium point to Romeo Lavia, because overall I think his game was really, really good. And I think that he played pretty well, especially in the second half. He was really, really good for the amount of time he was on anyway, until he got taken off. The reason why he's getting demoted down to medium is because he's the one who makes the mistake for the early goal. And it pains me to say this, because it's from a scenario that you'd expect him to do much better from, where he's being pressed by Tonali. And again, I always say this, he's really press resistant. He turns, and I think I'm not really sure what goes on here. I think he just expects Tonali to be on the opposite side of him, because he turns directly into him rather than away from him, which is what he usually does. And again, he gets the ball taken off him. It leads to the second goal, or to the first goal within the first 2 minutes. And that really, really, really dampens the spirits of this game. Because the thing about St James's Park, and we saw this throughout this game, they are very, very loud towards the start of the game. And Newcastle are so good at starting fast and kind of getting the crowd behind them and then making it difficult for you to play against them. But you can tell where, like, if you gain possession, you keep playing it, and Newcastle aren't getting the ball, like we saw in the second half, they go pretty quiet, or at least quiet for their standards. And we didn't really do that today. We kind of didn't, we didn't shut them up quick enough. they get right into a 1-0 lead in the first 2 minutes because, again, Lavia accidentally gives the ball away. And again, it's annoying because I understand what he's doing. And this is the thing, is that the playstyle that we have through Lavia is risky. So these types of things are going to happen at some point. So I don't fully blame him. It's kind of what he's told to do. But yeah, he gives the ball away. We lose the ball. They score through Tonali. A little bit of questionable decision from Caicedo, and as well on the right side he goes a bit too high. But yeah, those types of things happen. I think from that 1-0 kind of deficit, we kind of picked up a little bit more. But there we are. Let's talk about the first bad. Now I'm not gonna talk about the referees yet because because that's basically the main thing which I'm going to talk about later. The first person that's going in the bad box, and this might surprise you, maybe, I'm not sure, it's for Robert Sanchez. And this isn't for him, his shot stopping today. I think he was good at saving the majority of stuff that came his way that he was able to get to. For example, the second goal that they score, he doesn't have a chance, so I'm not going to blame him for that. The reason why I'm putting him in the bad box, though, is because his utter failure to pass the ball out from the back today and just hoof it was so poor. And this is the thing that, like, I was speaking about this with Lavia, and I say the reason why we play well against teams that press us is because we have players like Lavia who can escape the pressure. When you don't allow them to actually do that, and you just play the ball over the top to Nicholas Jackson, who's never going to win the ball against Dan Burn in the air. He will if you put it on the floor, which is what my whole preview was about, was putting it to Jackson's feet from short balls. That's when you can kind of make progression from this type of situation. And the thing is, when you have the crowd on your back, I understand it's a big thing of like, oh, I just need to get rid of this, and you get a bit nervous and all that stuff. But the precedent that it sets when you're hoofing the ball, and this is clearly, we know that this is not a tactic that Maresca was implementing, because Maresca has said multiple times, it's been talked about when he had Mads Hermansen, it's been talked about when he had Jurgensen. He says, if you hoof the ball long, I'll take you off the pitch. He said that multiple times. So I'm sure that this is not a thing that he wanted to happen, and we obviously saw that happen less in the second half, which is when we started playing better. But yeah, for the first half, just the constant giving the ball back to them by just hoofing it long and giving them more possession, getting the crowd more involved because they're on top and they've got the pressure on you. It's not good enough. And I feel like some of the other defenders were doing it as well. Chalabar a few times did it, but it's more understandable when it's like a defender, because it's like, cool, your first reaction as a defender is like, I need to get this out of the box immediately. Whereas for a goalkeeper who's taking goal kicks and stuff, you don't have to do that immediately. And it's just, again, I said overall I don't think he was too bad, but just because that one part of his game that he really needs to pick up is his distribution. He's just so bad at it. And for a system that basically relies on a goalkeeper being good with his feet, it's just not good enough. And then we get into the situations like we got with them basically dominating us for the whole of the first half. Now let's talk about the obvious, the elephant in the room. That's Nicholas Jackson and his red card. Now, a lot of people are blaming Jackson for this. I'm not going to particularly blame him for this because I see it objectively, and I see the thing which I think about with fouls, and this is a joint point with the referee, so we're going to talk about this now. The thing which I see with these types of fouls is, again, I've spoken about the inconsistency of the PGMOL and the fact that it pisses me off to no end that they do not ever officiate the same incident the same way twice. We saw yesterday Tyrone Mings do a worse elbow, not get punished. We saw earlier in the season Dejan Kulusevski nearly take Lavia's head off with an elbow, doesn't get punished. We've seen this referee that we had, I forget his name. What's his name? I don't remember his name. This same referee that has screwed us in this game gave the penalty to Delap in the Ipswich game, which wasn't a penalty. He also gave the 2 penalties at Anfield as well. So that's interesting. And the thing about this is, again, I've talked about the inconsistency. I don't care if you want to give this as a red card. If you think that this is a red card, sure. But the fact that you've given it as a red card when those other incidents haven't been given them is genuinely utterly ridiculous. And I always say this, and like I'm not going to scream corruption. I'm level-headed enough to not scream corruption. However, the thing which I will scream is just utter incompetence. These guys that run the refereeing in this country are useless, incompetent, foolish idiots. They do not understand how to referee games. They do not understand how to be consistent with any of their decisions. And the thing which bugs me the most, and this is the reason why I don't like coming to St James's Park, and this is the reason why I said this is going to be a difficult game going to St James's Park, because the referees are so easily impacted by the crowd. And that's the reason why Newcastle gets so many decisions going their way at home, is because of how loud their crowd is. And it's part of the reason why I complained about Stamford Bridge, and I get annoyed at our fans for not doing the same thing at Stamford Bridge. We're not loud enough at Stamford Bridge. We don't demand fouls enough at Stamford Bridge. And it pisses me off because we would probably get a lot more decisions if we did, like Newcastle did in this game. Now, John Brooks, that's the one. John Brooks, thank you. John Brooks and his associates today might have put in the utterly most one-sided refereeing performance ever since that 2009 game against Barcelona. It's genuinely that bad. Every single time one of their players gets slightly touched, this is a contact sport, by the way, so that's perfectly legal. Anytime their players get slightly touched, they flop to the floor, they get a foul. Anytime one of their players commits a foul on us, nothing happens, and it's so annoying just seeing it happen over and over again. I'm perfectly fine with Jackson being sent off in this game. I don't agree with the decision, but I can understand the referee's thinking behind it. But if you're going to be harsh and give that decision a game-ruining decision for Chelsea, let's say that, if you're able to give that decision, you absolutely have to give the penalty on Enzo in the box. There's two hands wrapped around him by Bruno, who Bruno probably should have been sent off for multiple yellow card offences in this game, let's be real. He gets one late on in the game after this incident. He has two hands wrapped around him, and the VAR have the gall to say that it is mutual holding. Mutual holding. Let's get a definition on the word mutual, right? Mutual means that you are, you're both doing the same thing. How is it mutual when one player has both arms wrapped around the arms and chest of another player, and the other player is just trying to run away from him? It is utter incompetence. And I know because of these incidents happening in the box all the time, the referees aren't inclined to give them because they think, oh, if we give this one in the box, that means we have to give every single bit of wrestling one in the box. And that's the kind of thought process that they have. I say, fuck it. Do it then. Like, if that's going to be the case and it's going to be cool, you have to give more fouls in the box. Give more fouls in the box. Like, I'm not going to complain. Like, I think it's utterly ridiculous that a player is allowed to have two hands wrapped around a player and no intention of actually playing the ball, and it's not a foul. At the same time, Colwill gets fouled as well. He gets tripped over. That doesn't get given. And the second goal that they get, which again is very lucky for Newcastle with the deflection, the second goal that they get comes from the fact that our player gets fouled and then they give the foul the other way. It's genuinely mind-bogglingly stupid how utterly abysmal the referees are when it comes to fighting, or when it comes to playing in stadiums where it's loud and the home support is good. If this game was played in a neutral stadium or played at Stamford Bridge, we would 100% won this game. I believe 110% in my heart we would have won this game. Because, again, every single 50-50, even things which aren't 50-50s, there was one on Cucurella which I think was utterly crazy that they gave against Cucurella, which wasn't a foul. There was the one where Anthony Gordon runs into the back of Palmer and somehow gets a foul for running into the back of a player. I think that's utterly just complete dog shit. But it's just, again, it's the inconsistency that pisses me off. I don't care if the referee's going to be terrible, but be terrible for everyone, or just don't be terrible. Again, this is the same thing which happens in every single game, and it's just so annoying because the consistency is just not there. And you see it from like other refereeing in, for example, Serie A or La Liga or in the Champions League, things like that. The refereeing is genuinely 5 levels ahead. It's so much better than the Premier League, and it's a genuine, real problem in this league of how poor the officiating can be. As I said, if the referees want to give this as a red card, go for it. I don't agree with it because I'll kind of give my thoughts on the actual foul here. This is one of those ones where it's a bit of a grey area, no pun intended, that people will see this and say it's serious foul play. Now, it's definitely not violent conduct because that's not what they check for on the VAR. It doesn't say violent conduct. It says serious foul play. And my brain says you need to look at the context of what has actually happened and not just look at the incident. If you watch what's gone on, the ball has gone up into the air. It's an aerial duel. and the Newcastle player is preparing to jump. You can see from Jackson's perspective, what he is trying to do is he is trying to put his arm out to block the chest of the player and win the aerial duel, as he's the player that's lower. That's perfectly fine. And if the Newcastle player does jump quick enough, he doesn't hit him in the head. And to be fair, if you look at the actual replay, he doesn't hit him in the head at all. It's more here in the neck, which again, I don't see as serious foul play. I think the referee actually got this spot on, where he gave this as a yellow card. I think, sure, you can give this as a foul, you can give this as a yellow card. But it's, again, the thing which I don't like about this new style of refereeing is that VAR was brought in to correct mistakes. The whole point of it is that it is for clear and obvious errors. You cannot tell me that the referee has made a clear and obvious error to give a yellow card for that foul. You can't say that's a clear and obvious error. You can't. Yeah, the commentary on TNT was fucking wank anyway. I love Ali McCoist. I think it's Ali McCoist who was on the commentary as the co-commentator. I love him usually, fellow Scotsman, but he was so biased towards Newcastle today. That pissed me off as well, but we won't get into that. That's a different situation. But as I said, the thing which I think is harsh is that VAR now is being used to re-referee the game, and that's not what it's supposed to be for. It's not supposed to replace the referees. It's supposed to be a guide for the referees if they have made a blatant error, like, for example, they've given a penalty when there was no contact, or they've given a goal that was a handball or something like that, where it's clear and obvious that this should not have stood. For example, the offsides, I know people get annoyed with the offsides and it being marginal and things like that. I think the offsides is one of the ones where it's a bit more lenient, because it's like, it's a binary thing, right? You are either onside or offside. There's no grey area, right? You are either onside or off. So that's fine, because if you can see a goal and say, the person was actually onside, that's a fact. That is a fact of life, that the player is onside. You can say, okay, well, I made a mistake. That's a clear and obvious error. This is not a clear and obvious error, because this is on a opinion of the referee. And I said, the referee immediately says, right, this is a yellow card. And I would have been fine with this. I'll say, cool, yeah, give him a yellow card. I personally don't think it's a foul, but if you think it's a foul and you want to give him a yellow card, that's fine. For then to go to the screen and to change your mind on something that's not a cut and dry thing, not a black and white thing, again, no pun intended, is ridiculous. You should not be using VAR that way. Because again, it's not a clear and obvious error. He has not made a clear and obvious error there. The referee has actually, for the first time in the fucking game, refereed the game well by giving him a yellow card. And then they just, it just annoys me. As I said, I'm not gonna get too mad about it, but like, it's frustrating, because it's not the first time it's happened this season. It's not the first time it's happened. It's not the first time that these types of refereeing performances have happened against Chelsea specifically. And again, it's really annoying because, as I said, this exact same scenario pretty much happened yesterday in the Bournemouth game. I think it's Tyrone Mings who throws an elbow at a player, and he's not carded for it. And there's way more force and way more intention in that elbow that he throws than Jackson's in here. Because again, this is very clear. For me, you have to look at intention when it goes to serious foul play. Is the intention of Jackson here to hurt the opposition player? No, so it's not violent conduct. That's the first thing. Is the intention of Nicholas Jackson to elbow the player in the face? Absolutely not. You can tell that he is trying to put his arm across to block the chest, and which is what every single striker and every single defender does when they're trying to compete for an aerial ball. It happens 50 times a game, but this one gets singled out because the Newcastle player doesn't jump. It's ridiculous. It annoys me. It's just annoying, because again, I think the game nowadays is much softer than it needs to be. I think we need to start being, and I'm not going to be one of those, this is woke nonsense people, but giving red cards for that type of foul, where it's literally just a player trying to use his body to get the ball, is utterly ridiculous. The fact that we see fouls nowadays for players, and Anthony Gordon did this multiple times in this game, and it annoys me when players do that thing where they're on the ball and they're running forward, and then a player runs to the back of them, they slightly touch them and they just fall to the floor. That annoys me. This is the thing, right? This is the thing. I think that you're kind of correct there in the fact that he's aiming for a shoulder. If you actually watch it in slow motion, you can see that Botman has dipped down. When he gets hit, he's dipped down to jump. If he hasn't done that, he doesn't get hit in the face or in the neck with this thing. It's shoulder to shoulder and it's fine. I said, maybe it's clumsy from Jackson, and that's the reason why I've put him in the bad box, because it is clumsy. I will say it's clumsy. But it's the type of thing that happens, as I said, 50 times a game, and it doesn't get penalised. It's just the situation is slightly different in this situation because the Newcastle defender hasn't jumped. It's just ridiculous. It's just silly. Yeah, Palmer does it as well, yeah? That's the thing, right? Palmer does do it as well, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I've said this multiple times. I don't like the soft fouls that go on for players kind of just being pushed in the back and them just falling on the floor. Like, I get it. If there's two hands in the back, that makes sense. But when it's literally just a player kind of, you know, trying to get around the player and they've just put their body in the way and then they suddenly just stop and then fall on the floor, that annoys me. It's like, what do you expect to happen if you randomly stop running? You're going to get hit. Like, you're the one that's instigating that foul. Again, I could go on and on about how the referees are in this modern football, but I won't bore you too much with it. Let's get back into some positives, because there are positives to take from this game. The first of which is someone who I think we're gonna vote for when we get to the vote. It's Moises Caicedo. I usually don't put him in the box because he's so phenomenal that he puts in these types of performances all the time. Today he was exceptional. Apart from that one moment at the start of the game where he gets slightly caught out of position for Gordon to run down the wing. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, especially in the second half. He was genuinely everywhere, and again, having that midfield three of Lavia, Enzo and Caicedo all in the centre was really, really fun to see when we got to see James on. And again, people are going to complain, but people are going to complain about, oh, Maresca should not be playing him here, blah, blah, right? People need to understand, Reece James as a player, great player, right? Phenomenal right back. The problem with Reece James is that he's made out of glass. He's made out of glass and paper mache. So if you put him into 2 games and say, hey, you're going to play 2 full 90s, he will not get out of the back of that uninjured. I'm sorry. Like, people need to accept it at this point that if James has played, and he will play in certain games because obviously he has to keep playing, he's not going to play here. Now, I don't think the situation of playing Moises Caicedo at right back is an issue. I think we saw against Liverpool how well it can be. We've seen against Spurs earlier in the season how good it can be when he plays there. I said I don't even think he was particularly the reason, or that system in general was the reason why we played poorly in the first half. I think the majority of it was the fact that, again, as I mentioned earlier, Sanchez and co kept just hoofing the ball up the pitch and we were getting no control of the ball. You saw in the second half we played it short, and it was very obvious that Maresca had given them the hairdryer treatment at half time and said, hey, stop playing the ball up in the air. You can't win the ball in the air. Our whole team is tiny and they have Dan Burn at the back. And as soon as that happened, we started playing it on the floor and we started playing so much better. And this is going to be the final point which I put in here, because Caicedo kind of exemplifies this. But the thing which I really want to talk about today is the heart of our team. We don't get to see the heart of our team very much. We don't get to see it in this modern Chelsea era. In the last, let's say, like 3 years, we haven't really seen that type of heart and that type of fight. And for us to be 1-0 down at St James's Park, and for literally being so good that we're actually forcing Newcastle to a time waste and delay the restart at throw-ins and things like that, is so commendable. And if this was a game where we didn't have Jackson sent off, and maybe we had more numbers forward, I 100% believe we would have come back and won this game, because we played so well. We created so many more chances in that half. We completely made it's weird because we made Newcastle look like the team that had 10 men in that second half. We were all over them. And again, they get a lucky break at the end of the game with them again getting a goal off the back of a foul that wasn't given, and then getting a lucky deflection off Gusto, who admittedly Gusto probably should have closed him down a bit better, I would suggest, but I'm not going to give him too much credit. One thing I will say about Gusto, by the way, because I'm not going to talk about him, first time this season he's put in a good ball into the box, by the way. Like, he actually put in a really decent ball for Reece James, and James doesn't score it. If that goes in, man, the elation if that goal goes in, very upsetting that doesn't go in. But yeah, like I said, if we play the way that we play in that second half for the next 2 games with that same heart, that same desire, that same kind of confidence, we're 100% getting 6 points. We're 100% getting qualification. As I said, it's the qualification thing is in our hands anyway, because we've got to We've got to play Forest on the final day, and that's obviously the main thing. And as I said earlier at the top of this episode, I basically said, like, we were expecting to drop 3 points at some point in this run to either Newcastle either Newcastle, Forest, or Liverpool. We lost it to we didn't lose it to Liverpool, so we lost it to Newcastle. Now we can move on. So 6 points would put us onto, if we go onto the table here, 69 points. A very nice number there. And yeah, that would be enough to beat. That'd be enough to stay in 5th place, as long as the result. As long as the results elsewhere kind of help us a little bit. And obviously, if we get 6 points, we beat Forest. The Forest will be below us at the moment. As the fixtures are kind of playing on, we see that Leicester. Obviously, it's half time now. Leicester and Forest are currently drawing. If Leicester can hold on there, that's really good for us. Keep them behind us. We definitely need to win both games. Absolutely. Absolutely need to win both games. I think that against United, this is going to sound silly, but I think we're absolutely going to slap United. I just don't think they're a good team at all. I think with the dynamism that we're probably going to have up top, because we don't have Jackson, we're probably going to play George. I think we'll play so much better against United than we did before. I think they don't. Again, I don't think they really offer much. In fact, currently they are losing to West Ham. Like, United are not a good team. Like, we will beat United. I have 100% confidence in that. The issue is the final day against Forest, and the thing is, Forest is a very tough matchup against us, like for us. But the thing I will say is that genuinely, Jackson getting red carded might actually be a blessing in disguise, because he doesn't play well against Forest. Forest love to play really, really solidly, very, very what's the word? Not pessimistic, but like, result. They're very, very, very. They sit back quite hard. They'll counterattack you, and a player like Jackson, it's just not the solution to breaking those down. He's not good enough aerially to be able to win the ball if we swing in crosses. He's not he's not going to hold up the ball in terms of being a big target man centre forward for us. That's not the type of thing we kind of thrive off. So we're not going to be getting success out of crosses anyway. So the other option against Forest, and again, I'll talk about this more when I do a preview for that game, is that we kind of have to play it around the face and use quick movement and those types of patterns of play to kind of get cutbacks instead. And that's kind of what we're going to have to do if we have Tyreek George in the game. Pragmatic was the term I was looking for, indeed. The term I was actually looking for, I think, was resolute, but it just didn't come to me in time. Either way, Guiu should start against United and Forest. He should be back in a few days. Absolutely. If he is back, he 100% needs to start. I do not want to see Palmer play as a false nine. And I know Maresca is a bit hesitant to play players that are coming back from injury, and I think Guiu is one of them. I don't think he'll play the United game. It's weird. I need to actually check when we have. I want to see what the times between the games are. So the United game is on Friday next week. So not too many days away from now, so 5 days away from now. And then the Forest game is on Sunday, and then obviously our final against Betis is our 25th of May. So yeah, I think Guiu will probably play in the Nottingham Forest game. I don't expect him to play for the United game, but then again, against United, I don't think we particularly need to rush him back anyway, because, as I said, United are dog shit. They are so bad. It's kind of crazy how bad they are. I think, yeah, like you said, Neto at striker is definitely a good option there. I think, again, personally, I would like to play George there. I think he's played better as a striker. I think he's at least a bit taller and can kind of be hit by long balls if it does go over. I think he's been really, really good since he's kind of been integrated into the first team. I think it would be a nice reward for him to kind of play here in place of Nkunku, who would usually come in after Jackson's suspended. But I do think as well that this whole situation with Jackson might have bigger implications here, because personally I wouldn't do it, but I'm not the person that makes the decision. This could genuinely be, and this sounds horrible, this could genuinely be the last game that Jackson plays for Chelsea. If the board of directors are harsh, this could be the last game he plays in a first team capacity if we do sign a new striker, for example. This could be a horror game for him. But Tyson really got excited up again, for real. You know what? I'm going to be putting an early prediction in here. Against United, one of our centre-backs scores a long ranger. One of our defenders scores a long ranger against United. I bet that'll be like the deciding goal. Is that the ball? Here we go. Here's my headcanon. The ball is swung in from the right side from Pedro Neto. The ball is headed out by Harry Maguire. It falls to James on the edge of the box, and he slaps it top corner. That's my prediction. Do you think Jackson deserves to start in the Conference League final? I don't think it's a situation of deserving. I think he has to start the Conference League final. I think he is objectively our best striker. He has to play in that final. We obviously want to win that game. And to be fair, the teams that he's facing in Betis, I think suits him a bit more because it's a Spanish team. We saw how good he was at Valencia, or Villarreal rather. Which one was it? I forget. I think it was Villarreal. Correct me if I'm wrong. In Spain, anyway, he was much better. And there's a lot more space against Spanish teams, so I think he'll do better there. But let us run the poll. I'm going to stop. I was about to say I'm going to stop edging you. I should not say that. Pause. Pause. I didn't say anything. Let's start the poll. For not our true blue, but our grey great. Because we've got a few players in here that can take the crown. I'm going to say. I think it's pretty obvious who's going to get in here, but, you know. I always like to give you guys the democracy. And yes, there we go. Boom. Stop the poll. All rise for the great. All rise for the rock star. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee whilst I wait. I don't know why I called it a coffee. It's not coffee at all. It's zero sugar Dr. Pepper, but there we are. Jackson's kind of a luxury player. He can't be a main striker. I'm starting to be inclined that's the case as well. I think Jackson is such a novelty in the fact he allows us to play well against certain teams, and that when he is like in a situation where he can do what I kind of highlighted in my my preview, where you can drop deep and get on the ball and play other players in. He's so valuable for doing that. But against certain teams that like, and to be fair, it's the teams that we struggle against. There's teams like Newcastle, like Forest, like Ipswich, those types of teams that play really pragmatically and then hit you on the counter and have really good counter-attacking football and things like that. We struggle so much because we don't have a player in the box. It just feels like Jackson has zero box presence. It's actually quite nice seeing Guiu play sometimes because we actually get to see him be a bit more of a box presence. And also just being a bit more reactive in the box as well. That's kind of the reason why I wanted George to start up top, because I feel like he's a bit more reactive in that regard. I think that, like, again, I'm always saying... I'm always saying, like, I want Gyökeres. I feel like he's the best one. I've seen... people, I've seen that about like Osimhen. I'm personally, again, this is my bias, so like you can disagree with me. I don't mind. My bias is that I just don't think that Osimhen is going to be a striker that works out at Chelsea. I feel it in my bones that he wouldn't be the type of player that would work here. And again, because of obviously the wages and stuff, I just don't see that as a realistic signing anyway. We're not going to break our wage structure for a player. I just don't think that's the kind of way that this newfound kind of ownership and the sporting directors work. I said Gyökeres would be the main one, but I think he's probably going to go to Arsenal. Maybe he even, you know what, he might even go to United, because obviously that's the connection there with Amorim. So that might be something that happens. Genuinely, there's not really much other options. There's Ekatike, I'm not really convinced by. Obviously, it's Delap that we've been looking at for a long time. Not really convinced by him too much, but I think that he's the most realistic. Generally, he'd rather him fail with us than succeed elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, that's good. As I said, I would... the thing is, the main kind of, like... the main kind of... like downside for me with Osimhen will always be the wages and the price tag, right? That's the main thing for me. If he is not going to cost up to 80 million, if he's going to cost around that 50 million mark, or 64 million, which is going to be touted, and we can get his wages down, absolutely 100% I want him on the team. 100%. Because again, as you guys point out, he is stylistically the type of striker we need. Sesko... Don't even mention Sesko in this conversation, man. I'm not trusting any Bundesliga striker ever again. Like, never again. That league is cursed for strikers. That is absolutely cursed. Unless it's Haaland, and unless it's and it's less than it's Lewandowski, those two are absolute phenoms. They're completely in a different stratosphere. Everyone else, 60 million release clause. See, that's the thing. If that is true, and it's a 50 million pound release clause, and we are able to negotiate at least not a low wage, because Osimhen will not take a low wage, a lower wage, or like a low-ish wage. I've seen 200,000 a week is kind of what's being touted. Then I'm like, cool, you've convinced me, put him in the team, because that's cheap enough for a player of his caliber. My issue is when people are touting like, oh, Osimhen's going to cost 80 to 100 million, or his wages are going to be 350,000 a week. Things like that freaks me out, because I'm like, I don't want to break the wage structure of the team, because obviously our team plays well, or plays well enough, because we've got incentivized contracts. Yeah, 60 million is a bargain, like genuinely. Like, if you think about the other players that we're being linked to that are in the same price range, he's by far the best one out of all of them for our team. Like I said, I like Gyökeres. I think that he's so good all round, and not only is he just a fantastic finisher, but he can play in that kind of target man way. He can also play as a running in behind. He can kind of be that fox in the box as well. He's so all round, and that's the reason why I prefer him. But because the specific thing that we're missing with Jackson is that box presence and the ability to, you know, be a finisher and be a target man in the area, which is the one thing that Osimhen is just insane at. So yeah, let's. Obi Mikel's driving the Smith like a freight train for real. Like I say this in the past. I'm a bit hesitant with Mikel, because some of the things he says on his podcast are less than ideal, I would suggest. But Caicedo was one, of course, with 46%. But yeah, I mean, if it's gonna get us a striker that can score goals, then like go for it, mate. Have it. Yes, that will be my thing for today. Will I do a tactical breakdown on this game? Probably not, because it would really frustrate me. Really frustrate me actually. Like watching this game again. But I might do that. Obviously, it's going to be changed. The name has changed. I've got a new logo. Personally, the new logo for this kind of tactical breakdown, or like post type thing that I've came up with, it was obviously my design, but the artist I commissioned kind of did it for me. Utterly the best one out of all of them. Oh yeah, Omega is another one. Omega is another one that's been rumored. He's the one from Strasbourg. But yes, thank you guys for voting in the poll. We've put Caicedo as the great. I nearly said True Blue again. The great for today. Next video. When will next video be? United is on Friday, so next video will be on Thursday, 7 PM. That'll be my preview for that. All rise for the grayscale. I honestly, I was so tempted. Basically, I was so tempted to do it, because on that like animation that I've got, I could change the text at the bottom. And I was so tempted to put a little tagline like that, but I thought, let's stay on brand. Yes, thank you guys so much for watching as ever. I said I'll catch you on the Thursday of next week, and hopefully against United we can do much better. And yeah, I hope you guys have the speaking is hard. Speaking is very hard when you have multiple speech impediments. I'll tell you this. I hope you guys have the rest of your afternoon be good. That's not a sentence either. I hope the rest of your afternoons are good. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you for hanging out as ever. As I said, keep the blue flag flying high as ever. We will get 6 points. We will get UCL. I stand by it. I will not jinx it. That will happen.